Hello BookTube and AuthorTube. This is a long overdue writing update. So part of the impetus for doing this update, besides the fact that I haven't done one in forever, is that April is Camp NaNoWriMo. So for those of you who don't know, NaNoWriMo, or National Novel Writing Month, is a group writing event in which participants in the month of November try to write a 50,000 word novel. Unless you're writing science fiction and fantasy, in which case it's a novella. And so the rules are, it's to be an original work that has had some prep work done, but it's not a second draft, it's not editing, it's a completely new work. And NaNoWriMo has been quite successful. So over time, there have been several sort of spin-off writing events called Camp NaNoWriMos. One is in April, of which I'm kind of sort of participating in. And then I think there's one in June too. So that's the impetus for this video. So what have I been writing? I've been working on my three big projects, the ones that I'm really passionate about. Scorpius, my superhero story, The Journey, my portal fantasy, and The Fates of Chaos, my epic God-centered story. Late last year, when I talked about these three projects, I mentioned that in a way I see them more as comics than I do as novels, because I thought comics would allow me to expand the story more than confining it in a novel or even a series of novels. But I've been thinking of ways to sort of turn them into novels, because obviously I can do the writing, but I would need an artist collaborator to do the visual part of a comic. And I found ways of turning the journey into a novel, and even ways to keep the focus on the worlds that the characters travel to in a more condensed format than expanding it out. And I've also figured out how to do The Fates of Chaos either as a single novel or as a series of novels. And actually I came up with a way, another way to work it that I have got to remind myself to write down so I don't forget. So that's exciting, and I've been spending most of my time on Scorpius, which has been a bit more difficult to figure out how to turn into a novel, because I mean it is a superhero story, a costume superhero story, and those work best as comics rather than novels, in my experience at least. I have never really read superhero prose fiction that has really worked for me. But working on Scorpius these past few weeks, I've figured out three options I could do. The first would be to just like a series of novels in which each story arc would be its own novel, which could be exciting, although exhaustive and time consuming, and I might run out of interest at some point. The second one would be to a single novel in which the character's life as a superhero is explored. um, which I think could be incredibly fascinating. And then the third one is just one big epic story. That would also be fun, I think. Um, so besides trying to turn Scorpius into a novel, I've also been retooling it. So my original plan for Scorpius was for him to start his heroic career as a college freshman. That he would have left his hometown and gone off to college, and in college he would have taken on the mantle of the city's protector, as well as the various other duties that Scorpius is supposed to be doing. Um, and I had two opening story arcs that I quite liked. But the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, well, him starting in college, while could make some sense. I mean, not wanting to endanger his family or kind of hiding his identity by being away from the family, or that the town didn't really have crime. I was thinking, well, maybe I should start the story when he's still in high school, when he's just coming into his powers, or he's going through training. And so I've been working on that approach, in which he would start as a junior in high school. And I'm quite liking it. I have the first arc kind of worked out. I know what I want to do and how I want to do it. I need to work some more on some of the subplots that, the ones I need to wrap up in the, during this story, and which ones I want to carry over. And I also need to do a lot more work on the villains. I'm really not satisfied about the antagonists in the story. One I can get away with is that they are starter villains and aren't necessarily in the right genre. But the other one, the main antagonist, I do need to do some more work on to really sort of be quite happy with where that's at. So that's what I've been working on recently. So I'm probably going to go back through and retool the outline tonight. As for the journey, I've obviously worked out how I want to work it as a novel. I've also worked out some of the main characters, the travelers. I've also worked out roughly how the story would go, so quite happy with that. And then the Fates of Chaos, I know what I want to do, whether it's a single novel or a trilogy. I pretty much know where I want to go with that. I just need to work more on the characters and invent more characters. And work out probably it's not magic, it's the power system. Since these aren't wizards, they're gods. What exactly would be appropriate term for their power? Which I'm also looking forward to and I'm enjoying. I've also done some work on Akarsha the Sorcerer, the project I've been working on intermittently for the past few years. I've taken another look at it, and there's some retooling I want to do. I think I'm going to make it a short story, or on the shorter end of a novella. But I haven't made too much progress because most of my attention's been focused on Scorpius. And then there's the contemporary fantasy I wanted to work on last year. I've been thinking about separating the two stories. One being maybe like a steampunk or a diesel punk, and the other one being like a ghost story. But I don't know. I'm gonna go back to that and see what I think about that at some point. So that's my writing update. And I don't know how often I'm going to be updating these videos. These videos tend to be rather difficult to make uh, because I don't have like a set structure of what I want to say. So sometimes it's, I guess, not entirely clear sometimes what I'm saying. And honestly, making these videos aren't the most pleasant videos I make for me to make or to film. Um, so yeah, so I don't know exactly when the next writing update will be. It might be next week. It could be a few months from now. We'll see what we'll see. Uh, while I'm at it, I probably should do an art update because I haven't done an art update in like a year or two. Well, no, it's more like a year because my channel's only like a year and a half old. So yeah, it was about last year. So I've been I got into my little art nook uh, twice in the past few weeks, and I've been playing around with some painting ideas, and I quite like some of what I've done. Um, there's this one scene of I'm thinking it's a hill with a few trees on top of it that um, I thought was going to be quite difficult to do because it's like very grassy and unkempt. I mean, so how exactly to portray that on paper? And I actually kind of figured it out, and I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Um, I mean, it's a bit of a mess though, but I'm quite happy with it. And then there's this one of a mountain I did that I was thinking of maybe giving to my mom once I got a frame for it. That didn't quite turn out how I'd hoped for. The mountain turned into basically a mound, and the sky, I think I need to lighten it um, some. But I do think I got because the challenge of this one was the trees, so it's a very sort of long shot with a lot of miles between the viewer and the mountain, and there's a lot of trees. There's like a small forest between the viewer and the mountain, and I wasn't entirely too sure how to do the trees. But I kind of figured it out. It's a bit of a mess, so I probably need to find the time to go and try to fix it. So that's my writing and art update. So tomorrow I will have some tags, or at least a tag, probably some, because I'm positively buried in tags. There are so many tags I really want to do. Um, it might take me a while to get out of. And then on Friday there will be weekly reads, so I will definitely see you on Friday. So until tomorrow, BookTube, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.